What's up, guys? Diego from SGN. I want to welcome you to the very first Premier League weekend review of the season. And of course, it was a great opening weekend to the Premier League. Lots of huge results. No real big surprises, I would say, except for maybe United winning 4-0 against Chelsea. But other than that, there were no really big surprises. But overall, it was a very fun weekend of football. Let's just go ahead and just jump right into breaking down some of the results, what I thought about the games, at least the ones I was able to see, and kind of give you a breakdown of what I think that's going to mean for the clubs over the next few weeks. Starting off, of course, with the first match of the season, Liverpool defeating Norwich City 4-1. And this wasn't really surprising at all. I think that anywhere from 3 to 5 goals was pretty much going to be expected because Norwich are a club that just moved up. They didn't really sign any top players, and they haven't really improved their squad in a way that you think they're going to be able to survive in the Premier League. And I don't really think there's anybody out there that really thinks that they are they're in with a solid chance of surviving. Now, anything could happen. They could manage to stay in the Premier League if some of the other teams just drop in just crazy fashion. But honestly, like looking at their team, I don't see them even being close to surviving come, I don't know, like March or something like that. So definitely no surprise there. And Liverpool, as always, offensively, they're just an insanely tough team to have to deal with. Having Mane, having Salah. Well, Mane actually wasn't even there, but still, having Salah, having just the quality they have offensively, and Origi, who ever since towards the end of last season has really kind of come to his own. They just have an insane amount of offensive potential, and realistically, there was no way that Norwich is going to deal with them. I think there's very few teams in the league that can deal with them. I think that United's defense now is capable of doing so. Of course, City's, Tottenham can do it. Arsenal potentially on their day if they have just an excellent performance. But there's very few teams out there that can really do much about Liverpool's offense. So definitely no surprise there. And I guess, overall, very, 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 very predictable result. After that, we had, for some reason, this is all out of order, but we have Tottenham versus Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa, I think they can definitely hold their heads very high after this match. I think that Aston Villa going 1-0 up and surviving until I think it was like the 80-something minute, more or less, with that 1-0 lead, of course, taking on a lot of pressure, really suffering Tottenham's onslaught. They still showed a lot of heart, and they show that they do have the potential of actually being able to do something pretty solid against a lot of the mid to lower level teams. I think, of course, doing that against Tottenham at their new stadium, it's not going to be easy at all. Tottenham they're Champions League finalists for a reason. They have so much quality in their team, whether it's defensive or offensive. So I don't really think never really in doubt that Tottenham were going to get a goal. I just think that as time went on, it was looking more and more like this is typical Tottenham. They're against a team that they should destroy, and yet they're possibly going to lose some points. But, of course, at the end of the day, when you have Harry Kane, he's going to score eventually. When you have Ndombele, who I was extremely positive about when he signed for Tottenham. I actually did a whole video talking about that as well. And, I think he's an excellent signing. I don't necessarily think it was that great of a goal because, in my opinion, that was essentially like a prime example of poor goalkeeper movement in FIFA 19 where you move the goalkeeper, but then you don't really put him back in the right spot. So it seemed to me like the keeper was a little bit too far off of his position, that if he'd just taken a step further to his left, which I think was pretty much what he should have done, I feel like he probably would have blocked that shot pretty easily. And if he blocked that shot, who knows? Maybe Tottenham don't get a goal back, and maybe Aston Villa are able to get the win, or maybe even hold them off until like the 90th minute or something like that, and then at least get a draw. So I think it was a very, very good performance from Aston Villa in terms of what they could possibly take away from that. Of course, a lot of confidence, and just knowing that they are in the Premier League now, but they do have what it takes to at least compete with some of these teams. Next up, we have Watford versus Brighton, which finished 3-0 for Brighton, which was definitely, definitely a surprising result. I didn't think this was going to be a goal fest. I didn't think that either team was going to get destroyed. But it looks like, Brighton are doing a good job. This is their second season in the league now. They know what it takes, and they know that, if they can get wins over a team like Watford, then there's a good chance of them staying up. And, of course, this was an away win as well, so it's literally a 6-point match for them. So, great result. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see the game. But yeah, just, a hell of a result for Brighton and a great way to kick off their Premier League season. Next up, we have Crystal Palace, Everton finishing 0-0. This was a result that I didn't really expect. Now, Everton defensively are pretty solid, and Crystal Palace also are pretty decent defensively. So I expected to be kind of a low-scoring game, but I definitely thought that Crystal Palace at the end of the day would get the W. I just figured once Zaha came in, I figured he would probably find a way to get a goal, because if he's a guy that everybody's talking about potentially being a £60 million player, then more than likely, he's going to have what it takes. And we've seen him time after time produce that type of quality, but it just never really came for him. And Everton did a very good job of stifling him ever since he came on. And Moise Kean, he's a phenomenal player. I think that he has the potential of really taking Everton to that next level, but he's going to have to get used to the Premier League. He's still a very young man. I think he's 19 or something like that, 18, 19, maybe even younger. So he still has a lot of growth to do, but he has the physical traits, he has the speed, and he has the intelligence on the pitch to achieve some really, really great things. And he kind of looks like possibly a new Lukaku in the style of play. So we'll see what he can do with Everton, but I definitely think he's one for the future. And this was a pretty solid game to watch, to be honest. Like, yes, there were no goals, but from start to finish, the game was always entertaining. So definitely the result doesn't kind of show how fun of a game it was. Then we have Burnley beating Southampton 3-0. Now you might be thinking this is a shocking result, but it's really not, because Burnley over the past couple of seasons have actually been really solid. They've had some really good seasons, in particular 2 years ago, where they were basically, I think they were just outside the Europa League spots, or maybe they were actually in the Europa League spots. I can't remember. And last year I actually saw them play live at Old Trafford when they got that nice 2-2 draw against United, unfortunately. But regardless, Burnley are a team that they do have some quality. They do have some tough players, and that's probably their biggest trait, is the fact that they don't quit and they have a lot of heart. So they're always going to be in a match as long as they're still relatively in it. They always have a potential of competing. So I figured, against a team like Southampton, who just have dropped off so badly over the past few years, like it's long gone are the days where they had Lallana, where they had Van Dijk, where they had Mane. They had such phenomenal players. I think they even had, I might be wrong, but I think they even had, did they have Lallana? I can't remember, but regardless, they had some just excellent players, and players that, that's Schneiderlin. All these players that went on to play for top quality clubs, whether it's United or Liverpool, etc. And now you see the way they're just a shit team, and it's hard to believe that in such a short amount of time they've gone from possibly Europa League contenders to basically relegation candidates. So not that surprising a result. I didn't get to see the match, but definitely not surprising that Burnley was able to just go out there and dismantle them from start to finish. Next up, we have Bournemouth versus Sheffield. And this was actually a very, very, very good performance here from Sheffield. I didn't get to see the game, but I don't mean to say performance. I meant to say result. Sorry. This was an excellent result for Sheffield because Bournemouth are no joke. Eddie Howe is an excellent manager. He's shown that time and time again. At first, when he came into the league, there were some issues in terms of maybe he was he was a little bit too focused on offensive football instead of maybe shoring up the defense and making sure that he wasn't conceding a bunch of goals. But ever since he fixed some of those issues, things have gone a lot better for him. And over the past couple seasons, he has really shown that he's a top manager. So I feel like, this is a solid result for Sheffield away from home, and one that could potentially give them a lot of positivity moving forward. And we'll see what happens for them. I think that, Norwich, Sheffield, and probably Southampton as well, these are the teams that I feel like are probably going to be favorites to be relegated. I don't know if that's actually going to turn out to be the case, but looking at the teams, looking at them even right now, I just feel like those are the three teams that are probably going to go down: Norwich, Sheffield, and Southampton. These are the three teams. Now they might surprise us. They definitely might surprise us, but that's how I feel as of right now. But definitely a solid result for Sheffield, and we'll see what happens next week. But definitely a 1-1 draw away from home in the opening match in the Premier League against a tough team like Bournemouth is always a good result for them. So hats off to them for that. Next up, we have West Ham losing 5-0 to Man City. Now, Norwich, of course, had a solid performance. A solid performance. They got destroyed by Liverpool, but in what was a very solid performance from Liverpool, but a very typical performance. But realistically, when you're going against a team like Norwich, who have just moved up and haven't really done any spending to improve their team to adapt to life in the Premier League, you kind of always expect them to just go off and kind of just destroy them. But what I didn't necessarily expect was a 5-0 win from City against West Ham United. Now, West Ham aren't the best team. West Ham don't have that great of a manager, in my opinion. I don't think Pellegrini is that good of a manager. We saw what he did with City. With that team, he underachieved brutally, so I don't think he's that good. With Real Madrid, he underachieved pretty badly, so I don't think he's that good. And I just don't really rate him that much as a manager. So that's one thing that I want to mention. But I didn't expect City to just go out there and completely dismantle West Ham. And there were a few chances here and there where I think it was 2-0 for City. Ederson made two insane saves in the span of 5 seconds. If one of those two shots went in the goal, they could have been a very different match, where maybe City were kind of having some issues under pressure, being at London Stadium. The fans get up and get behind West Ham. that could have been a potential disaster waiting to happen for City. But in the end, their pure quality came out. Aguero missed a penalty, but the penalty was annulled and they had to retake it, and he scored it. And then from that moment on, it was pretty much just downhill for City. It was just an easy win after that moment. And I guess, West Ham, they have a lot to improve. Like, they have a top quality player in Felipe Anderson. They have a decent player in Diop, but they still have so much weakness back there. Like, they even, Declan Rice didn't have a phenomenal game. So they have some good players. It's just a matter of they need to be more consistent against the, anywhere from 7th to basically 20th teams. They need, it's one thing to lose to City, but they need to really score as many points as possible against some of those smaller teams in order for them to realistically be among the team that they want to be amongst, which is essentially, there's the first tier teams, which are Liverpool and City. Then there's the second tier teams, which are United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Tottenham. Well, even I guess you could let's go ahead and put Tottenham in the top tier. Then you have then you have the other top three. Then you have United City, United, Chelsea, and Arsenal. And then from there on, you have Everton, West Ham. You have this level of team, Leicester, of course, as well. So that's where West Ham need to want to be. But in order for them to do that, they need to start winning some of these games. Not against City, of course, but I'm talking about some of the ones that they've been losing over the last couple of years. And I think that if they can do that, then there's a good chance of them finishing like 7th. And moving on to the Sunday matches, we have, of course, Man United versus Chelsea, which finished 4-0 for United, and easily the most shocking performance of the weekend because, of course, you look at United, okay, over the past few years, we really struggled, especially defensively last year. And offensively, we've consistently had issues in putting together goals. We've consistently failed miserably at actually scoring. So it was always going to be a tough match, at least on paper. Then you have Chelsea, who have a new manager in Frank Lampard. They didn't bring any new players except for Christian Pulisic because, of course, they have the transfer ban, so they couldn't even improve an already weak squad. Plus, they just sold on deadline day David Luiz, who was their most experienced center back, so they lost a lot of personalities there as well. And then, of course, there was Kante, who for some reason was on the bench. Giroud wasn't playing, so they had a lot of people missing, and just a lot of very questionable tactical choices by Frank Lampard. Like as soon as I saw that lineup, I was thinking to myself, this Chelsea team makes United look insane on paper. So I figured we were probably going to win. Like even before I saw the formations, I thought we would probably get a 2-1 win, but never did I expect a 4-0 win. Now Chelsea, I will give them a lot of credit. For the first 15 minutes, they were looking like they could easily go 3-0 up. They hit the post with Tammy Abraham. So they had some solid players in there. Emerson hit the post another time. David De Gea, I think, was forced to make a pretty solid save as well off of Emerson. So a couple of those players did have some pretty decent performances. But overall, once United got that first goal off that Kurt Zouma mistake with Rashford's penalty, I think from then on, United just built up in confidence. They got stronger and stronger, especially defensively. And from then on, it kind of just took over. There were some spells in the match where Chelsea were looking dangerous, and they were looking like they could potentially go out there to do some damage. But thankfully, on the counterattack, with Rashford, Martial, with Daniel James, with Lingard, United are just very, very dangerous in the counterattack, especially when the confidence is high. So, and when desperation is high for the opposing team. So, luckily, it was a nice, beautiful 4-0 win against it's easily our probably main rivals for the top four. I would say that there's pretty much guaranteed to where Chelsea, Arsenal, and United are going to be battling for that 4th spot. And then there's going to be Spurs probably 3rd, Liverpool 2nd, and City. So there you go. You already have my Premier League predictions, but I am going to do a whole video about it in the next couple of days. Doing a whole Premier League prediction, but I just want to wait and see a little bit, like if some people if some people leave, because there's still a chance of Paul Pogba leaving. There's still a chance of a few other players leaving. So I'm going to do my predictions probably once the transfer window closes for Europe, just because I think that that's probably going to be the last factor. But I might do it a little bit earlier just because I want to get it out there because, of course, the season's already started. So what am I waiting for, right? So yeah, it was just a huge result for United and an excellent performance really on the counterattack, and really shows that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's style is really being implemented the correct way. And I think that moving forward, it's just going to get better and better. It's going to be a better link-up play between Rashford and Martial. I think it's just going to get better. We're going to get a lot of goals from those two guys moving on to the season. And then, of course, there was Newcastle losing 1-0 to Arsenal at St. James's Park, or the Sport Direct Stadium, whatever you want to call it. And this was actually a pretty solid performance from Newcastle. I was able to watch that game, and I got to say, Newcastle, they didn't really seem like they were out of the match the entire time. So I think that this was more of a worrying performance for Arsenal than it was a good performance from Newcastle, maybe because of course Arsenal are a team that they desperately need to be in the top 4 of the season, much like United. But they don't really seem like they have the quality. Offensively, they are just insanely dangerous with Lacazette, with Aubameyang, with Ozil. They have a phenomenal offensive lineup, and plus you add in Mkhitaryan. They have some really, really good players there. But then you look at the defense where their best player is easily David Luiz, who is not that good of a player. They have Mustafi, who's not good. They have Koscielny, who's maybe did Koscielny leave? I can't remember. But regardless, they don't have that good of a team. So I think that in both in midfield and defensively, Arsenal have some insanely big holes. And I just think that this was a performance that kind of showed that, and it still is very early in the season. So a lot of the times, teams have to kind of take a few months to really get into a groove and really reach the format they're going to reach. But I think this was a pretty worrying performance from Arsenal fans, and I just don't think they're going to reach the top 4. So yeah, good. It was a decent performance though from Newcastle, who of course are one of the top teams that are going to be tipped for relegation as well, because they haven't brought in really any top quality players. Almiron is a good player, but he's nothing special in my opinion. So yeah, I think Newcastle are definitely going to be up there among the relegation contenders, but I think they will survive just a little bit. And then moving on to the final match, it is Leicester City versus Wolverhampton Wanderers, and this is a match that unfortunately I wasn't able to see, but it's one that I really actually wanted to watch, because Leicester, at least traditionally over the past few years, they've been a very, very solid counter-attacking team, and Wolverhampton, they're a team that is just very solid in pretty much every part of the pitch. Their midfield is very good. With Ruben Neves, they have a very solid player there. So one that really I would like to see at United, but unfortunately just wasn't meant to be. Defensively, they're solid, and offensively, they have some really good players. So it was going to be interesting to see what Leicester could do against a team like Wolves, who are... Jesus. Sorry, guys. Wolves, who are United's next opponents. And I figured if Leicester play their traditional style, counter-attacking, they're going to look a lot like us. All right, if they're going to maybe give Wolves possession and just hit them on the break with Jamie Vardy with that pace, then they might play a similar type of a match that United are going to play against Wolves. So I wanted to see how Wolves deal with that. But a friend of mine who is an Italian who roots for Milan, so shout out to Joe, but he does also root for Wolves in the Premier League. That's his team in the Premier League. He watched the match and he told me that for the most part Leicester weren't actually giving up possession. They weren't just playing counterattacking football. They were actually trying to build up possession. They were trying to run the game a little bit, which is, I didn't expect them to do. That's not usually their game plan. But yeah, so I guess it's not really an exact copy of what United are going to do, but I think that some similarities are there. And of course, Leicester don't have the just insane, like Martial is just a phenomenal striker, and I think he's going to be an excellent player moving forward. Rashford is the same thing. I don't think that Leicester necessarily have the same dynamism. I don't think they have the same quality offensively, so I think that there's going to be a little bit of a difference there. But the fact that Wolves were able to deal with Leicester pretty easily, keeping them to a 0-0 draw, I think that kind of goes a long way to show that Wolves are definitely capable of making it a very difficult match against us, and I don't necessarily look forward to playing against them, but I do look forward to seeing what this is going to, because I think this is going to be a first real test of the season, because I think that Chelsea, they're in such a shambles as a club, with the players they have and with the new manager, all that stuff. I didn't think that they were really going to be too much of a threat. I did expect a 2-1 win, but one where maybe they get a late goal and potentially try to get a draw, but I didn't really think they were going to put us under pressure to actually beat us. So I think the Wolves are actually the first real test of the season for us. So we'll see what happens there, but regardless, a 0-0 draw between Wolves and Leicester, it's a pretty decent result for both teams. I think they're pretty much right there. They are the two teams alongside, I think, West Ham and Everton that are more than likely going to be competing for those third-tier spots, just behind United and Chelsea and Arsenal. So definitely a solid result for both of them. I think they probably both wanted to win, but it is what it is. A 0-0 draw isn't necessarily the worst thing at this stage of the season. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Every single week there's going to be videos like this. There's going to be stuff for the Premier League as well. For the Champions League as well as the Europa League. So plenty of content coming to you guys here. And yeah, of course, it's going to be predominantly, there's going to be a United review every single week because I'm, of course, a United fan, but you'll be getting a lot of Premier League content, of course, alongside some Serie A content. And then if there's interesting matches in La Liga as well, then you'll be able to check out plenty of stuff on this channel. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching.